make sure the genes don't get switched on and off in the wrong way over time. And so if I truly am biologically young, and by some tests I'm about a decade younger than my current age, which is 54, then I've been doing the right thing so far. But ultimately, I want to be able to reset everybody's age by a few decades, every few decades.
Oh, okay. So
But then we never
this
die.
can't be an ongoing process. That's
It may be. I don't know of a scientific law that says we must die. I mean, eventually the universe will die and we will go along with it. But there's no biological law that says we need to age.
Have you reached escape velocity?
No. Right now, the velocity is that for every year we stay alive, we get an extra 3 months. But eventually, it'll be for every year we'll get another year.
So that would be escape velocity. And then there's the quality of life that we care about, right?
Well, this is a misconception that the longer you live, the sicker you are. That's going to change. What we're doing is actually keeping people younger, so that in your 80s, 90s, and 100s, you're not sick. You can still play tennis and hang
yeah.
out.
There's a great study about how diet and exercise, the two things that everybody just takes for granted because we hear it all the time, can actually keep you young well into your 80s. And a lot of it has to do with resistance training. A lot of it has to do with muscle mass, bone density, and the diet that you put in. Eating cruciferous
But
greens and stuff.
Dan, I hear all this about food, but there's so much conflicting information regarding diet. At what level will the genes show themselves? I'm leading the witness here. At what level will the genes show themselves to be predominant over so many other things that we actually think are affecting your age? Because many of the people say, I'm healthy and I do this and I do that. They die at the same age as everybody else.
I've been smoking my entire life, and I feel great. I don't understand. My father smoked, my mother smoked. He lived until he was 87, and he had no problems at all. Of course, he only had half a lung, but who needs more than half a lung?
That's so true, Chuck. Right. These anecdotes don't make science, as you know. But
Right. And I'm just wondering if at the end of the day, it's different people have different genetics, and that is maybe the 900-pound gorilla in the diet room.
Well, for sure, we're all individuals. We have different microbiomes in our guts. We have different genomes, and so how we respond to food is very different. Of course, somebody might need more vitamins. Somebody might need more protein. We tailor it actually. Right now, we live in a world where you can actually read your genome and make decisions about what to eat, how much to exercise based on that information.
Are we saying here that epigenetics is cell's operating system, and you've
Yes.
worked out a way where you can just dial the hands on the biological clock backwards?
Yes, exactly that. Are we done now?
Yes.
No. Okay, there's a goat in any sport, and we want them to forever stay the goat. They would just see you, and we'd still have Wayne Gretzky playing hockey, for example, or Michael Jordan, or Hank Aaron still hitting home runs. It sounds like none of this is true. It just sounds like it can't be true because we're so used to this world where aging is, like you said, something that diminishes your capacity, ultimately kills you. We were born living this understanding of life.
Well, we used to think that about flying, right? Before the Wright brothers, it was impossible to fly, and then they did it, and everything changed. The same is happening in the aging field, where what was impossible is now becoming possible. I agree, it sounds crazy to say aging is controllable, but we're doing it in my lab all the time. My students don't think anything of reversing aging by 70% in an animal or in a cell. It's commonplace, but it's not generally used across society. The closest we've come now is curing blindness in mice and monkeys in old age and damaged eyes. Humans will try next year, but the theory is holding up, and if I'm right, then it really will be a different world, probably for us, but certainly for our children.
This is the information theory that you described.
Information theory of aging. Yeah, it's based actually on Claude Shannon's work, which you're familiar with, I'm sure, as the MIT professor who figured out how to transfer information over time and space without any losses. And he proposed the backup copy, which is really the basis of the internet, the TCP/IP protocol.
So, if I understand what you're saying, there's the first first copy of our genetic code that we're operating on, and that can get damaged and things can happen to that, and a lot of that ages us. You're saying, park the curtains, there's a backup copy that can restore our youth. And so you need to get access to that backup copy and engage it so that it takes over whatever was happening on the other side of the curtain, on the front of the curtain.
That's very well put. Actually, we used to say DNA is our destiny. That's not true for aging and longevity and health span. Only about 10 to 20% is genetically determined. The rest is this epigenetic determination, and that's behind the curtains. And so what we figured out as a field, and we do this in my lab, is we can turn on genes that resets the system, that reinstalls the software, and there's a backup copy in every cell that we've discovered that it exists. Exactly where it is, hidden where it is behind the curtain, we don't know for sure, but we know it exists because we can very easily, within just a matter of a week or two, get tissues of animals to go back by 50, 75% of their age. And then they don't just work well because they're like they're young again, they literally become young again.
So now, why is it then that we find aging throughout the entire animal kingdom? I mean, we being animals so too. But why is it that we find aging throughout, the whole of the animal kingdom?
Well, aging happens largely because of a lack of natural selection. Okay, getting back to fundamentals, evolution works on species